I'm reading stories that President Biden is discussing his polling numbers, and his staff is discussing the polling numbers, and they don't believe in polls, and they're mad because there's emphasis on the age issue. Stop it. Stop it. Your poll numbers are not good and you're old. Get over it. I hate to say that. Why don't you tear his face off and talk about, and you've already fought, no one would know it, but you keep it a secret. You're for raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. You know what? It's a really good idea. You know why it's a really good idea? Because it doesn't cost jobs. They have economists that have looked at this every way you can. And when you raise the minimum wage and say, well, it's only X people get the minimum wage. Yes, but there's X million people that get 20% above the minimum wage. And if you raise it, it'll go up. No, that's not a new idea, James. That's, Democratic populism. Mark Penn is not going to like that. Well, who gives a shit what Mark Penn likes or doesn't like? Try it on a poll. Try it on a poll.
Meanwhile,
Rubio's Coastal Grill has closed 48 locations in California. Management telling ABC 10 that they're closing locations due to the rising cost of business in the state. Locations in Sacramento, Folsom, Lodi, and El Dorado Hills have closed. They say that while the closings are painful, they are a necessary step.
It's sad to see that it's a quality, good company that can't keep all of their Rubios open.
It's unfortunate that everything's too expensive in California. I'm sure a lot of businesses are going through the same problems. We're overtaxed, we're overburdened, and gasoline higher here everything in San Diego is more than anywhere else.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about another casualty of Democrat Party economic policies, okay? These are overwhelmingly progressive policies that, for whatever reason, Democrats haven't learned, or at least some Democrats haven't learned, that this stuff doesn't work. As you guys saw at the beginning of this video, that was James Carville, the Democrat strategist that was suggesting that Biden should come out and to suggest that he wants to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And he claims that economists have studied this every which way, right? And they've come to the conclusion that this is a good thing. This is something that Biden should do in an inflationary environment, right? We're experiencing stagflation where we don't have much growth, but we also have inflation happening at the same time. And the Democrat Party and their big idea is not to, I don't know, maybe cut taxes or roll back regulations or cut some spending or to do something in order to try to facilitate growth, or maybe even, again, stop spending so much money so that the government stops contributing to what's happening with inflation. But no. They're not going to actually do that, right? No. They want to increase the minimum wage, okay, which is a policy that most definitely will help fuel inflation and also lead to job losses. If you don't believe me, all you gotta do is just go out to California, where we've tried this, okay? This is the progressive lab, right, where we can try all the Looney Tunes progressive policies and to see how bad they actually really are, because we know they're bad, okay? But sometimes you need to actually test them out, okay, to figure out how bad they actually are, or to show people that, hey, these policies are bad, because unfortunately, people don't have enough common sense to realize that progressive criminal justice reform, things like, for example, playing catch and release with criminals, no bail, incentivizing shoplifting, that is not good, right? You probably shouldn't do that, okay? You're probably not going to have good outcomes when you are soft on crime. But unfortunately, again, this is what has to happen. People have to see that fire burns in order to believe that it burns, okay? That is the reality of a liberal, okay? I'm just saying. I'm just keeping it 100. So Democrats continue to push progressive economic policies even though they don't work, and that's all they got, right? That's the only response they ever have to anything is that, well, let's be more progressive. Again, a lot of people don't realize that progressivism is the problem. That is the problem with this country. This country is too progressive, right? And we have another casualty of progressivism, specifically when it comes to economics here, out in California. A beloved chain called Rubio's Coastal Grill is closing almost 50 locations due to the terrible economic conditions, the bad business environment in California. Basically, it is just too expensive to operate, okay? But again, you have people like James Carville, who probably gets paid millions of dollars to tell Democrats bad ideas, right? Saying that, yeah, Democrats need to come out and try to raise the minimum wage, right? This is what they need to do.
Tough times for a beloved Southern California company. Rubio's Fish Tacos is closing a third of its restaurants, including dozens right here in SoCal. The company is blaming the rising cost of doing business in the state. KCAL News reporter Lori Perez live now with details for us. Lori?
Yeah, Juan, that's right. In announcing the closures, as you said, the company referred to the rising costs of doing business in California. But we spoke with an expert tonight who says it's not that simple.
It's sad to see that it's a quality, good company that can't keep all of their Rubios open.
Customers with a hankering for Rubio's Fish Tacos might have to drive a little farther to get their fix. The restaurant's owners announced Friday they had shuttered more than a third of its locations, including 24 in the LA area. In a statement saying the closings were brought about by the rising cost of doing business in California. While painful, the store closures are a necessary step in our strategic long-term plan to position Rubio's for success for years to come. Disappointed customers across the state echoing the company's frustration.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of businesses are going through the same problems. You know, we're overtaxed, we're overburdened.
But some economists say while it's common to hear companies blame California's high costs, and the state did just raise the minimum wage by $4 an hour, the other factor is Rubio's was already in trouble. It had filed for bankruptcy in 2020, then tried to reorganize, exactly the kind of company that would be vulnerable to any increased costs.
So for those businesses that are not doing very well near the shutdown margin, this increase in costs, when they try to pass it on to their consumers may just stop shopping there, and it may be the thing that pushes them over the edge into a situation where they go out of business. I think that's the sort of thing that we're seeing in the case of Rubio's.
The Rubio's closed.
Yeah, well, so again, here's the issue, right? I mean, they're trying to low-key say, well, it's not all California's bad progressive economic policies like raising the minimum wage. This restaurant almost closed down during the pandemic, 2020, right? Well, what was California doing in 2020? What policies were they pushing in 2020? They were pushing lockdown policies, shutdown policies, which were bad for the economy. Okay, so when you shut down restaurants, when you shut down businesses, and Democrats made the decision to force them to shut down, and they almost go bankrupt, whose fault is that? It is the fault of the Democrats. Their policies. They were bad economic policies. The shutdowns, the lockdowns were bad economic policies. A lot of businesses went under. And the businesses that survived struggled. They struggled. So what do Democrats do after businesses are struggling during the pandemic? What do they do in order to help the businesses? They don't cut taxes or roll back regulations or do anything to actually help businesses get back on their feet, right? No. What do they do? They actually put more pressure on the businesses by making the businesses raise costs, okay? Specifically labor costs by raising the minimum wage. On top of that, rent is going up. So you got rent rising, minimum wage rising, so labor costs rising. Yeah, a restaurant that's trying to struggle and get back on its feet after the pandemic, yeah, they're going to have an even harder time trying to survive when Democrats are continuously making it hard for them to operate. Again, imagine going through shutdowns and lockdowns that essentially forced your business to close down. Customers weren't coming to your business. And then when things start to open back up, the first thing Democrats want to do is increase the minimum wage, increase your labor costs. While, again, rents are rising and other costs are rising in the middle of an inflation crisis. A lot of businesses can't survive that. And I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing so many businesses go under instantly, jobs lost because of the minimum wage increase. There were probably businesses that were already struggling due to the pandemic. So it makes sense. It makes sense. So again, all these people that got fired are not getting paid, the $20 hour minimum wage? So that wage increase costs probably hundreds, if not thousands of jobs across these locations. So again, it's just another backfire of just bad policies from Democrats. And what really makes me laugh sometimes when it comes to Democrats and their economic policies is the fact that we all agree, okay? We all agree that during the pandemic, some of what was driving inflation was the supply chain crisis. Okay, we did not have enough supply to meet demand. And you would think that, if we don't have enough supply to meet demand, aka production, okay, to meet demand, maybe we would rely on some supply side economics, right, in order to help resolve that issue, okay? But no. Democrats, on the other hand, okay, they believe in modern monetary theory, where they believe that the government can just print as much money as they want, okay, and we don't have to worry about inflation as long as they just tax the rich, okay? But turns out that theory doesn't actually really work in real life for a lot of reasons. The fact is that the government printing a ton of money and spending a ton of money as well too, increase the money supply too much, definitely causes inflation for sure, and is very, very, very difficult to actually raise taxes, okay? It is easier said than done to raise taxes. So this idea that you could just raise taxes and get rid of inflation and just print as much money as you want, ridiculous idea. I believe what we actually really needed during the pandemic was more supply side economics, okay? We needed to cut spending, okay? That's what we needed to do. We also needed to cut taxes. That's what we need to do. We need to roll back regulations. That is especially what a state like California should have been doing. That should have been the approach.
Closures, of course, mean lots of workers lost their jobs. The company did not confirm how many. Wheaton says in the last 9 months, including since the minimum wage hike, about 10,000 fast food workers in the state overall have lost their jobs. That's about a 1.3% decline.
And what the research tells us is that once you get up to higher minimum wages and large increases, so for example, going from $16 to $20 in one jump, that's when we tend to see pretty large or larger disemployment effects. So,
Now, again, this guy is an economist, but you don't need to be an economist to know this, right? You do not need to be an economist to know that this would happen, right? You just need to be somebody with common sense. It's amazing to me how this guy went and got a whole PhD, right? I'm assuming he got a PhD. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just has a master's degree. I don't know. But he went to school for all them years just to learn something that you could have known just with common sense, that there's going to be massive job losses as a result of increasing the minimum wage rapidly over the short period of time. It doesn't take a PhD to know this. Maybe somebody that has run a business, okay, definitely could know something like that. But who knows? I mean, people in California, they voted for this, okay? The customers claim they're frustrated, but this is what they voted for. You voted for these businesses to shut down. You voted for these job losses when you voted for Democrats. When you support things like increasing the minimum wage to astronomical amounts like $20 an hour for fast food. That is ridiculous. Now they're trying to raise the minimum wage to $25 an hour for healthcare workers. It doesn't matter what type of worker you are. As long as you work in healthcare, even if you are a janitor or transportation, or it doesn't matter what job, $25 an hour minimum if you work in healthcare. Guess who's going to foot the bill? Taxpayers going to foot the bill. This is why Gavin Newsom is trying to walk back from it and delay the implementation of the $25 an hour minimum wage, because the government is subsidizing healthcare. So when you increase the minimum wage, that means that you're increasing the minimum wage for a lot of government jobs, and that costs taxpayer dollars, taxpayer money. That's expensive. It's not free, right? Nothing is free. Okay? There's a cost to everything. I don't know why is it that it's so hard for liberals to figure this stuff out. It's not hard. It's not hard. But unfortunately, some people, again, they have to touch fire to believe that it burns. It's unfortunate.
The research can tell us what the trade-off is, but ultimately it falls to policymakers and voters to decide where exactly they think that right level is.
There are still 86 Rubio's locations in California that will remain open. We are live in Marina del Rey. I'm Lori Perez. Back to you.
All right, Lori, thanks for that.
For now. So, yeah. People frustrated, but hey, this is what they voted for. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I would hope that at some point, California, they get to the point where they don't have to be subject to the experiment of progressive policies in order to understand that these policies are bad, right? At some point, maybe they'll do what Portland did and vote in the opposite direction when it comes to so-called criminal justice, not letting criminals just control their cities and be agents of chaos. They decided that, hey, we're going to get rid of our progressive DA and we're going to vote in somebody with more common sense. That is what they need to do in California, the whole state, especially these liberal cities. They definitely need to do that if they want to turn around the economic situation. But until then, it seems as if they're just going to keep doing this progressive stuff. And ultimately, you're going to end up with more stories like this of restaurants closing down, businesses going out of business because they can't survive in this type of economic environment. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.